You're listening to the Jan Price Show, all about movies. And today my guest is an Emmy award-winning entertainment journalist and my dear friend, Dave Karger. And we're going to be talking about the Oscars, everything to do with Oscar, my favorite show of the entire year. Welcome back, Dave.
Nice to see you, Jan. Thanks so much.
Nice to see you too. So let's just dig in. Where do we want to start? We want to start with Best Supporting Actor. Let's start with that.
It's a great list. It's two of the guys from The Power of the Dog, Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith-McPhee. Troy Kotzer from Coda, the first deaf male actor ever to be nominated. Those are the ones I was particularly excited about. I'm thinking for the win, it's between Troy Kotzer and Cody Smith-McPhee. And I think that if people really love The Power of the Dog, which they seem to, I think most of those people are going to vote for Cody. Nothing wrong with Jesse's performance, but Cody really is that movie. He's the one you're talking about at the end. So I think he's probably going to win. What do you think?
Now, it's an interesting category. There's a lot. I was just reading a lot about Troy Kotzer, and I loved his performance in this. And you know how Oscar likes to make history, and Marlee Matlin having been the very first deaf actress to win a Best Actress Award, I think in 1986, for Children of a Lesser God, one of my favorite movies. I think, and because she was in this film with Troy playing his wife, I kind of am leaning towards Troy.
Could happen.
Yeah,
could very well happen.
I think it's a toss-up. Yeah, you're right about Cody. I've not. He's been acting since he was 9 years old, and he's been around for a while. I have not. I don't believe I've ever seen him in anything before this role. So
if you did, you saw him in maybe The Road with Viggo Mortensen, which was based on the Cormac McCarthy book. It was like a two-hander with the two of them. That was a big break for him. But yeah, this movie is his moment for sure.
Yeah. So it is a toss up. I mean, I was thinking, well, Jesse Plemons, wouldn't it be cool if he won and Kirsten won, and wouldn't that be fun? That they both won, and lots of celebrations in their home. The same thing we'll talk about Harvey Bardem and Penelope Cruz, same thing. But I don't think Hollywood's going to vote just so they can have a bigger party in their homes. So yeah, this is an interesting category, a really interesting category. So we shall see. We will see when the SAG Awards are coming up. So we'll see what happens with the SAG Awards too. So.
Yeah, a lot of different people nominated for SAG in that category, as you said. I mean, there's only two of the 5 Oscar nominees were also nominated for SAG Award.
But yeah, fascinating in that respect too, that was the case. All right, let's go to Best Supporting Actress.
This one seems fairly easy to predict at this point, maybe because Ariana DeBose seems to just have been cleaning up for West Side Story and some of the other prizes. And it's the role of Anita, that has won an Oscar before, of course, for Rita Moreno. And I just think there's something irresistible about giving it to her. But it's not a done deal. I think Anjanou Ellis for King Richard is terrific and a strong contender. To your point, I think Kirsten Dunst is a strong contender. So I don't think it's like a lock, but I think Ariana DeBose kind of is out front.
Interesting. I just saw the West Side Story is in my top 5 all-time favorite films. So I was kind of course, it came out during the height of Omicron, so I wasn't racing to the movie theater, but we did go see it this past weekend, and I was when Rita Moreno started singing, the tissues came out with my friends and myself. We were all like, and I really thought it was very excellent too. I thought, why would we make a masterpiece? But it was really, really wonderful. Yeah, that's interesting because she hasn't been in anything else. But wouldn't that be again history, giving the Best Supporting Actress award to her in a role that Rita Moreno won many 1961. So yeah, that would be kind of a fascinating thing. But I am leaning towards Kirsten Dunst on this category. She really, again, it was more of a, instead of supporting, I felt, obviously she could have been up for Best Actress in this role because it was such a mean role. So it's another toss up.
Yeah, it could go that way too. You could be right.
It could. I mean, then we have, it's a great category with Jessie Buckley was wonderful in The Lost Daughter, and Judi Dench always is amazing. And you're right. And I don't want to mess up her name. Anjanui Ellis.
Ingenue.
Ingenue. Um,
Yeah,
yes,
she's great.
yeah. So all of them, they all deserved the nomination.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, let's go to actor in a lead role.
Well, I mean, I love Andrew Garfield in Tick, Tick, Boom. I love Benedict Cumberbatch in The Power of the Dog, Javier Bardem. And then you have Will Smith and Denzel Washington, who were both nominated in this category 20 years ago. And Denzel won. He was Training Day and Will Smith was in Ali. And then this year, I think it's going to be the flip. I think Will Smith will win this time, which would be his first win after 3 nominations. And I think King Richard did very well overall. So there's a lot of support for the film. And I just think that there's a lot of people who feel like he's kind of earned it, with this performance and the career in general. So I think maybe a Benedict Cumberbatch upset if Power of the Dog really sweeps, but I think it'll be Will.
Okay, I always love hearing your viewpoint and opinions on these things. I should mark these down, which ones you've chosen, but I'll remember afterwards. I think it's Benedict. I'm sorry. We'll go. I just love The Power of the Dog. Just love the movie. For me, it was the best movie of the year. I mean, and there are many, great films this year, but that was, and I have not seen it on the big screen. I watched it at home. I'd like to see it now. They are playing it back in the theaters again, so I do want to go see it on the big screen with an audience and see what the reaction of the audience is. But Benedict is such a superb actor in absolutely everything that he does. Imitation Game. I thought, I just love him in that role, many other roles. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards Benedict on this. Hollywood does do that. They deserve it now. They've been nominated a number of times. But look at how many times Glenn Close has been nominated, and we all thought she was going to win for The Wife. We thought that was a hands down done deal. And last year we were all shocked. With
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. That was a real shocker last year because we all thought it was going to go to. Sorry.
Chadwick.
Yeah, Chadwick. Yeah, for sure. So you never know with Hollywood what's going to go. But you think Will? All right. So far we're not lining up.
That's good. That means there's some interesting races. Thank goodness.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Okay, Best Actress in Lead Role.
This one is tough.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers. I don't think it's going to be Kristen Stewart for Spencer. And although I love Jessica Chastain as Tammy Faye Baker, I don't think it's her. I think it's down to Olivia Colman in The Lost Daughter and Nicole Kidman in Being the Ricardos, 2 women who have won before. I'm seeing a lot of people predicting Olivia Colman, and maybe I'm wrong. I think it's going to be Nicole. I think there's something to be said for her playing this iconic woman, proving everybody wrong, adding all these dimensions to Lucille Ball and making us understand her and look at her in a different way. And she's doing such great work overall in her career. So I don't feel super confident on the prediction, but that's my prediction.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to interviewing Nicole on the red carpet when she comes to the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. This is a tough one. The only reason I'm leaning against Olivia Colman is because she's just won, 2 back-to-back, relatively back-to-back Oscars. I mean, and she's marvelous. She's marvelous, always, in whatever she does. But the fact that she just won for The Favorite, a couple of years ago, and last year, didn't she win Best Supporting Actress for The Father?
She didn't win last year.
She didn't win.
She was nominated, and she was phenomenal. And last year, the supporting actress was Yoo Jung-yoon from Minari.
Oh, why did I forget that? Okay. I just blanked that one out too. All right.
Olivia was fabulous in The Father. I just loved that performance.
Yeah, I did too. So interesting. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I'm leaning towards Jessica Chastain in this
I would love it. I mean, that performance was just phenomenal. And the makeup team was nominated. So I would put her third right now. So I don't think it's out of the question, but God, that would be a thrill.
Yeah.
And
Well,
she's
oh, go ahead. Say it again.
She's been nominated twice before for The
Yeah.
Help and for Zero Dark 30, and without a win. So just like Will Smith could be a first-time winner on his third nomination, it's certainly possible for Jessica as well.
Yeah, but you have your ear more in the into Hollywood than I do even, and so yeah, so more of the buzz that's going around.
It's
A
hard
little,
this year because no one's around, and we're not all getting together and chatting as much as we normally would, right? So it's hard to gauge the sentiment. It's hard to predict this year, I think.
we have what 5 or 6 weeks to go, so we have a while before we, yeah. But I would like to see Jessica. I thought she was just amazing in that role. I mean, obviously, she carried it. So yeah, so it's an interesting race this year. It really is when we can go. Sometimes there's so many locks on things. You go, oh, it's just gonna be that, and that's gonna lock it all up, and it's not that. Actually, over the last few years, that has been less and less of the situation. I mean, it's been more all over the place, and that's because of changing the academy and adding more people and more diversity. So it's changing things, and that makes it interesting, really interesting.
I agree. There's been some real surprises in the nominations the last few years, surprises with the winners, and that's all we can ask for. Otherwise, I mean, I'll always watch the Oscars no matter what happens, but it's
Me
definitely
too.
more fun.
I will always watch I've watched them since I was a little girl, so I never miss them. That's my favorite. It's like, Christmas.
I know. I feel that way too.
Good. Are you going to be doing any red carpets or anything this year?
Don't know quite yet. Waiting to find out a couple things, see if they pan out or not, or will I be home?
Okay. Well, you'll
Just to
have
be
to let
seen.
me know, because if you are, we'll put that when we put out the blurb about the show. So, well, okay, let's go to Best Director.
Well, after you and I have just talked about how there's not that many locks, I think Best Director is the one lock of the major categories, and it is Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
I think no matter what happens with Best Picture, if The Power of the Dog doesn't win, I think she will win.
Yes.
And that'll be really interesting because up until now, there's only ever been 2 female Best Director winners, Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland last year. So we could get back-to-back female Best Director winners, which I think would just be really exciting. And I think what Jane Campion was able to achieve with just the look and feel of that film, and also adapting the screenplay, she's got to win.
Well, I agree, and it's well deserved. So it's not like we're just, giving it out because she's a woman. I mean, it's a well deserved award for her. I agree with you 1000%. I believe she did a phenomenal job with The Power of the Dog, and I just love the movie. I actually had started watching it twice, and I couldn't watch it because I felt it was going to be too depressing. And then when I was preparing for the show, I had to make sure I watched all the Oscar-nominated shows and performances. And I watched it, and I was just like, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. So
It's
yeah,
beautiful.
I agree with
Very
you.
powerful.
Yeah, very powerful film. Well, let's go to Best Film.
I do think it's turned into a race between The Power of the Dog, which had the most nominations this year, and Belfast. Dune had the second most nominations, but it didn't get a Best Director nomination. I never have thought that Dune was a threat to win Best Picture, even when I thought it was going to get maybe the most nominations of any movie, which it ended up not. I do think it's between Belfast and The Power of the Dog for the win. Those are my 2 favorite movies of the year, actually. So I'll be thrilled personally with either of them winning. I was really bullish on Belfast all season long, but then it underperformed a little bit at the nominations. It didn't get an editing nomination. It didn't get a cinematography nomination. Katrina Balfe and Jamie Dornan were not nominated, which was surprising. So I'm thinking The Power of the Dog is going to win, although I am hoping that Kenneth Branagh wins Best Original Screenplay. I think Jane Campion will win Adapted Screenplay for Power of the Dog, but I would love for Kenneth Branagh to win because he now has 8 Oscar nominations in his career in 7 different categories, which is more than anyone ever. So I would love for him to actually win his first Oscar for this very personal film.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I do. I loved Belfast, and I was shocked that Belf and Jamie Dornan did not get nominated, but you will be talking to them at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival at the Virtuoso Awards.
Yeah, you know what? There's bad news and good news on that front.
No.
Jamie Dornan can't make it But Kieran Hines, his co-star from Belfast,
Oh,
will be, and he was nominated for
yeah.
Best Supporting. So we still have two people from Belfast who are coming.
Oh, good, 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 good. Well, I loved Belfast too. I thought that was I loved how he filmed it, the black and white, everything. It was just, it was a beautiful film. But I am choosing The Power of the Dog. Again, I just felt something about that, the cinematography, the music, the acting, all of it, every piece of it was just spectacular for me. I just loved it. So.
Yeah, great film.
What was a surprise for you with the nominations this year? There's always this, the people who tend to run as the front runners, and then they don't get nominated. I mean, Lady Gaga one that everybody was just like shocked that she didn't get nominated. So
Yeah.
what for you? What were the shocking eliminate people who didn't get nominated that you thought perhaps would?
Yeah, I think House of Gucci was the big one. That was a movie that ended up just, I think, getting one nomination for its makeup and hair team. That was it. But I thought Jared Leto and Lady Gaga were in line to get some big nominations. Jennifer Hudson not being nominated for Respect
That
was
was
a
shocking.
bit of a surprise to me. I thought she did a really great job
Yes.
in that. Of course, Denis Villeneuve, the director of Dune, it wasn't my favorite movie, but I thought just because of what a huge undertaking it was that he would be nominated as best director, and he wasn't. And then I think a lot of people are surprised by how well the movie Drive My Car did, this 3-hour-long Japanese film. I actually ended up predicting that it would be nominated in Best Picture just because it had come on very strong with some of the critics' prizes late in the season. But that's one that I think took some people by surprise for sure.
I agree with you. Again, Drive My Car would not have been a film that I necessarily would have gone to, especially seeing that it was a 3-hour subtitled movie. And you go like, oh no, it's snooze zone. Anyhow, it was anything but. I sat there the whole time. Unfortunately, I have two friends who fell asleep during the exact same time in the movie, not together. They weren't together when they did. And I said, are you kidding me? It was the most pivotal point of the movie that you both fell asleep, and they both did it.
Oh, no.
And I thought, that's the pivotal point I had to go tell them all about it and everything. But I was riveted. It might have been what was interesting to me, and after the first, I'm going to call it the first act, credits rolled.
Right, opening credits. Yes.
But yeah, after we're into the movie for like an hour, and I was like, oh, why are the credits? This is supposed to be a long movie. And then it kept going, and that was like, I felt like the first act. And I kind of wish if they had broken it up into 3 acts, if they had done that again, that would have been kind of an interesting way to do that film and break it up a little bit, although it was, because it was almost like 3 acts, when you
Yeah,
think about the
that's
film.
true.
But I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it. I mean, it was one that you think about too. I love it when you go to a movie and afterwards you sit there and you're thinking about it and you're talking about it and you have discussions about it. What did that mean? And all the different
Right.
layers to it. So
Yeah, it's definitely not a movie that is spelled out for you. Drive My Car. It's a movie that's very lyrical and kind of it's a vibe as much as it's a story, and you kind of fall right in.
yeah, exactly. And what other surprises?
Um, I mean, though, I think some people were surprised by The Worst Person in the World being nominated for Best Screenplay. That's the Norwegian film. It's also nominated for Best International Film. So that was a bit of a surprise. Ruth Negga, I think, was in line to do very well with her movie Passing on Netflix,
Right.
and she was nominated. And then, as we talked about before, I think Katrina Balfe and Jamie Dornan, who are just so much the heart of Belfast. And I was very disappointed and surprised that they didn't get nominated too. I thought they were great.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also agree with you about Jennifer Hudson. I was rather shocked because I thought she did a real brilliant job of portraying Aretha Franklin. It has to be very difficult. And the fact that Aretha Franklin had handpicked her to play her.
Right.
You
Yeah.
mean, that's what an honor. I mean, and
I know.
she was so gracious about that and felt the weight of that on her, probably even more so.
Sure. And I think what happened this year is that the Best Actress race had a lot more real substantial candidates in it than the Best Actor race did. I think you could make a whole other group of 5 actresses who weren't even nominated because of Lady Gaga, Jennifer Hudson, and Rachel Zegler from West Side Story, and Alana Haim from Licorice Pizza, and Amelia Jones from Coda. That would be a separate 5 that would have been just as fabulous as the 5 who were nominated. You can't do that with the actor race this year. It was
No.
more slim pickings for Best Actor.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about this because they, in 2009, decided to have 10 nominations for Best Picture. And there have been many years where they didn't choose 10. It was around 7, sometimes when it was 7 or 8. And this year, what I understand, and you may know probably much more about this than I do, that they've been getting backlash that they haven't chosen 10 films, I think, and that they decided they really needed to choose 10 films. Is that correct thinking or not?
So you're right. So a little over 10 years ago, they decided to have 10. Then after a couple of years of having 10, they changed the rules so that a movie had to get a certain number of #1 votes in order to qualify for a nomination. And they dictated that it would be between 5 and 10, dependent on how many movies mathematically made the cut. Mathematically, by that system, it was almost impossible for there to be 10. It's kind of boring. I won't bore your listeners, but it just was next to impossible for there to have been 10, which is why you saw there were 8 or 9 pretty much every year for the past 5 or 6 years.
Right.
Now, this year, you're right. They have mandated now, starting this year, 10 Best Picture nominees, no matter what, which is, I think, why you saw a movie like Drive My Car or Nightmare Alley get in there. I think you can make the argument, or maybe even Don't Look Up. I think you could make the argument that it would have been 7 or 8 under the old system, but then a couple of those other ones kind of got in there and rounded out the 10.
Yeah, interesting. I loved Nightmare Alley. I mean, I thought that was beautifully done. I mean, again, another one I thought, during the pandemic, I didn't want to watch anything that was really heavy, which was like, so it's like, I want to be uplifted. So, but again, I braced myself and said, okay, I'm going to watch. I loved it. I love Guillermo del Toro anyhow. I loved Shape of Water and got the chance of interviewing him and meeting him. And I just think he's marvelous. And I just love the whole film. I would love to find out with your partner, Eddie Muller. Have you talked to him about this film?
I haven't. I actually had Guillermo del Toro and his wife, who he wrote the movie with, on TCM with me. They were guest programmers with me when the movie came out, and they chose 2 other film noir classics, or lesser known film noir classics, that inspired them as they were working on Nightmare Alley. So that was a total thrill to spend hours with them and really hear about their love for that type of movie. But I think you're right. I think you alluded to how beautiful that film is, and I think its production design and some of those aspects of its cinematography, I think, really helped the Academy members appreciate the film overall, because the performances are terrific too.
Oh, they are. And and then I guess they released it in the theaters in black and white. And it seemed like more people were going to see the black and white version than the color version. So I thought that was fascinating too. I'd love to talk to Eddie about this. I will next time I have him on the show. We'll have to talk. Well, you can go talk to him too. But I definitely want to talk to him about this. When I was doing my research, back in the 30s, they did have 10 nominations for Best Picture, for many years. Huh?
Sometimes even more than that. There were some years where there were about 16 nominations for Best Picture. It's been fluctuating for many years, but of course for our lifetime, we're used to there being 5, which is, I was one of the people who didn't love the supersized Best Picture race. I wish it was back to 5.
I agree with you 100%. I wish it was back to 5. I do, because it just makes, I think yes, there's always going to be deserving pictures, but I think making it a tighter race makes it, I think when you win and it's been in a tighter race, I think it maybe is more rewarding in a way, because you're, in a verified group of people. So, yeah. So, okay. Well, Dave, it's always great. Do you have any other predictions or picks, like best documentary or costume design, anything that,
Yeah, I think Drive My Car will definitely win Best International Film. I think Billie Eilish's song from No Time to Die, the James Bond film, will win Best Song. I think Hans Zimmer stands to win for Best Score for Dune. I think Dune's going to do very well in the visual effects and sound and um, uh, score races. So I think it'll be a good night for that movie for sure.
And well, one of my favorite movies this year was the James Bond film, No Time to Die. So, it was
Good,
one that
really
really got me back in the movie theater again.
I'm gonna miss Daniel Craig as James Bond for sure.
I am too. Well, Dave, it's always such a joy having you on the show, and I look forward to our annual Oscar show every year, and it's always a pleasure. So thank you again for coming on, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, take care, Jan.
You too. Thanks. If you missed any of the Jan Price shows all about movies, please go to my website, thejanpriceshow.com, where all the shows are archived, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, the iHeart Podcast Network, Spotify, Apple Play, Google Play, you name it, we're there. Also go to our YouTube channel and subscribe and like us there, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Jan Price Show. Thank you all for listening.